Hey there, folks. Let's start this broadcast off with just an honest question. Have you yourself, meaning in person live, actually attended an eSports event? We all know it's huge. We know it's garnering incredible investments, but so few of us have actually been to an event unless you're a really young person or millennial. Well, I'm going to share with you my personal observation now after attending numerous esports events, and we're going to look into the future and give you some esports predictions for 2019. And then, hey, you want to change careers to get into this great industry? We'll show you how to make the jump and get into the esports management business, all coming up right after this.
Welcome to Tech MOOC. What's MOOC? Massive Open Online Courses. And this podcast will give you a massive dose of tech and business savvy. MOOCs from Harvard, MIT, Cambridge and every major university around the globe are the way to stay ahead of the business curve. Your host for this program is Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, the internet pioneer who created Scan to Connect and Scan Commerce. You know, while you're able to scan codes with your mobile device and get information. So let's get started. Here's Jovan.
Okay, to know me is to know that I am 54 years old. I have to tell you a little bit about my history. My first purchase on credit, where I got credit for myself, was at a small hometown furniture store. And what did I buy on credit? An Atari gaming system. That seemed like eons ago, but let me tell you, Pong was it. Now, little did I know in this techno world that eventually gaming would jump from the couch to the casting room to the incredible cash cow that it has become today. It has become an industry in itself, but I have to tell you, I did not understand it at all until I went to my very first esports event. Now, I don't know if it was because the particular event was something I kind of basically understood. It was a Turner event, and it was their Turner E-Leagues, and it was for the game Street Fighter. Now, we all remember the game Street Fighter. You know, you pick one opponent on the other side. You either play the computer or you play one of your buddies. I guess it was an old Nintendo game, and you have special powers and you fight each other in a battle royale to see who wins with all the cool combination of moves. You know what I'm talking about, right? Well, I had in my mind my impression of esports and esports leagues, and how does anybody actually make a living out of this esports stuff? I have to tell you, it was highly prejudiced. I just had no understanding of how could people actually go to an arena to watch people watching their monitors, and what you're doing is watching people, watching monitors, watching people in a big place while you watch people, if that makes any sense to you. I had no concept at all, but I have to tell you, when I went into the incredible arena that Turner built, first off, it was fantastic. Of course, you know, they do all the wonderful CNN sets and everything else, so they know how to build a wonderful, wonderful set to do television and entertainment. So they brought their entertainment and television and broadcasting experience to this arena that they built right there at the old Turner campus. First, I walked through and they showed how they were monitoring all the streams, all the feeds, the Twitch, everybody else. They could tell at every minute what somebody was doing. But I still didn't have a concept of the game. Now we walk through the long corridors and hallways, and we've got our VIP passes and everything else, and I'm seeing these lines line up, and I see all these, should I say, different cast of characters. Now, some of these people I thought, wow, I've probably seen them at a Starbucks somewhere. That was probably my barista, right? Young millennial, kind of cool haircut, whacked out clothes, whatever, and then I find out, no, that's like one of the leading players. And I started checking out these young kids, and I started digging into their backgrounds, and I found out that several of these kids that have gone on to be champions were the nerds of their neighborhood. Now, let me put it to you this way. Because I'm 54, you can remember when computers started or games started, you had to be a nerd to like that, and you were ostracized by everybody. Now, eSports is cool, but the same nerd bullying takes place. And so I saw something in common with some of these kids where the particular champion that had come up, I think he either came from Brooklyn or Queens or something like that, and I saw an interview with his family because this kid had been horrendously bullied because, let's face it, he was just a lanky, skinny dork and couldn't relate to anybody in person. But through the game, he became something else, and all of a sudden this kid that his folks are trying to get him outside, but at the same time trying to protect him from gangs so he doesn't get beat up, is now making $200,000 a year, and he's a champion. And so I watched these kids, and I thought, wow, that's an inspiring story in and of itself. Then the event began. So here these guys come out, and of course with Street Fighter, it's a one-on-one game. You're only fighting against another person as opposed to large groups. As soon as the kids, and I'm sorry, but I call them kids because they were barely 20 years old, playing and they started fighting, you forget that these kids are on either side of the console fighting each other, and you start to look at their characters on the big screen, and it was just like rooting for your favorite boxer. I kid you not. I was floored. It was like watching a boxing event at Caesar's Palace. Forget that it's on screens, and forget that it's kids playing on computers watching the screen, and you're watching them playing on the screen, and we're all watching everybody else watching. It literally was no different than watching a boxing match at a Madison Square Garden or a Caesar's Palace. Why? Because most of the time you can't see the combatants close enough depending upon your access, and you're watching a lot of it on the big screen anyway. The same thrill was there, and I found myself, once I knew more about the kids battling, and I found out this one kid that was battling in this tournament. At the end of all these tournaments, they kind of have a free-for-all match at the end where somebody gets plucked from the audience. And I may not be stating this 100% correct, but one kid gets to come up and play. And if they win, they can win themselves into this competition. Well, this kid did it. He actually won himself into this competition, and boom, his life was changed. And now he's touring on the eSports circuit, and I'm watching this kid play. And I found out, wow, myself just rooting for this underdog who came out of nowhere. And then it dawned on me, this is exactly like sports. The more you know about the person playing, the more you can relate to them, you root for them, whatever your reasons are. And as you watch them, whether you root for the winner or you root for the underdog, you still pick your same kind of classes of why do you choose people. And all of a sudden, I got it. The arena was contagious. It was incredible to watch the cheering going on, and it was incredible to realize not only were this stadium inside the building filled up, this arena, eSports arena, and people watching it, but there were millions going to be watching this on streams as well. And that's when I understood eSports is here to stay. It is going to make a significant difference, and it's going to generate incredible business. And that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about the esports business, some predictions for the esports business, and how esports might just become your business right after this.
Hang tight. Tech MOOC will be right back.
Let's consider the secret life of the innermost nesting doll. Living most of her life in the dark, inside the other nesting dolls, she has plenty of time to think, if she could. Sadly, she has no brain. However, when an innermost nesting doll hears that Geico not only saves people money, but also has been providing great service for over 75 years, she thinks it's obvious you should switch. Because yes, switching to Geico is a no-brainer. Pity the innermost nesting doll and her lot in life.
Geico presents Unhelpful Home Improvement How-Tos.
A slippery bathroom floor can result in expensive hospital bills. So today, I'll show you how to cushion a serious fall by filling your bathroom with thousands of plastic balls. Just nail a piece of plywood across the doorway and dump in 2,000 multicolored plastic balls.
You could try to protect yourself with a bathroom full of plastic balls, or you could get liability coverage through the Geico Insurance Agency. Visit geico.com and see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
We're back. Here's Jovan with Tech MOOC.
Okay, folks, we're back. Let's talk about this esports industry and what's going on. And I'm going to give you the MOOC right away. You know, a MOOC is an online course that you can take, and this esports industry is proving itself. Yes, it's experiencing growing pains. Yes, there's some big adjustments coming down the pipe, but I'm telling you, it is here to stay. So if you're looking for where your tech career is going to take you, whether you're going to look at changing your career or doing a new startup, then I suggest you take a look at esports. If it's going to be your thing, you might want to look into esports management and various specialized studies programs. Now, this particular MOOC is for esports management specialized studies, and it comes from the University of California at Irvine. Now, the University of California at Irvine is bringing you this program today, and we want to tell you about this program, which prepares students to turn a passion for gaming into a viable career. Now, I don't want to put you off on that. It doesn't mean that you're young when it comes to a student. You can be an executive making the leap, because if you caught what I was saying, is this is just like any sports industry. Just because baseball's been around 100 plus years, it doesn't keep people from getting into the sport of baseball, does it? No. Well, globally, esports is about $1 billion a year. In 2018, it was $906 million, and it was on a year-on-year growth rate of about 38%. Now, traditional athletic apparel companies such as Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour they're going to be just like any other sport. They're going to compete for team jersey rights in the coming years. You're going to have major telecom companies that are acquiring gamer-centric programming providers, and it also forces innovations in video streaming capabilities that are now having to sync up and arrive in time for gaming platforms, titles that people can compete for. Media companies are competing for and trying to understand the value of the media rights, and therefore as a business opportunity, it is flourishing, and it has a high demand, and it's creating even more demand for professionals with the right mix of training, passion, and knowledge. And that's why the University of California at Irvine put together this particular course that you can take at home online to see if the esports management industry is for you. Here's some of the program benefits that this course will provide. You'll be able to speak knowledgeably about the history, community, and business of esports with employers, employees, and future stakeholders in the industry. It means you're going to be able to converse about this business of esports, whether you're going to operate in it or whether you're going to start up in it. You'll be able to develop what is key, which is the actionable items, and look at the actionable suggestions that experts say will encourage growth and improvement in the esports industry, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. You're going to be able to develop effective communications so you understand the difference between esports and communicating with the fans and the types of decisions that esports industry executives need to make. There's a whole different matrix than regular sports. This is heavily driven by social media content, so you're going to have to understand how to create social media content that entices esports fans' interactions. And then the special skill set of how do you apply past project management skills now to esports, so you take those skills you have and modify them to create the tools to initiate, plan, execute, and close on the most important thing, which is an eSports live event, because that is the moneymaker, the eSports live event. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about 10 predictions. What could be expected in this 2019 for esports? You're not going to want to miss it. Hang tight.
Hang tight. Tech Mook will be right back.
Geico presents unhelpful home improvement how-tos.
A slippery bathroom floor can result in expensive hospital bills. So today, I'll show you how to cushion a serious fall by filling your bathroom with thousands of plastic balls. Just nail a piece of plywood across the doorway and dump in 2,000 multicolored plastic balls.
You could try to protect yourself with a bathroom full of plastic balls, or you could get liability coverage through the Geico Insurance Agency. Visit geico.com and see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
Let's consider the secret life of the innermost nesting doll. Living most of her life in the dark, inside the other nesting dolls, she has plenty of time to think, if she could. Sadly, she has no brain. However, when an innermost nesting doll hears that Geico not only saves people money, but also has been providing great service for over 75 years, she thinks it's obvious you should switch. Because yes, switching to Geico is a no-brainer. Pity the innermost nesting doll and her lot in life.
We're back. Here's Jovan with Tech Mook.
So welcome back. If you've been watching this esports industry and you've been hearing about it, Lord knows it's been in all the news feeds. And again, I would encourage you, if you've never been to an esports live event, it might not even be your cup of tea, but if you've ever gone to a live basketball game, football game, baseball game, I'm telling you, you need to go to an esports convention and competition because it will blow your socks off. Let me give you some interesting stats from 2018. Fans worldwide watched 6.6 billion hours of esports. That is an incredible number, and with the ability to stream competitions becoming easier to put out there, and new games, games that are huge successes like Fortnite coming out, that number is going to rise and rise. And it's not just about new games that are feeding these competitive video games and esports. It's some of the old games that are coming back that probably you played 30 years ago. So what's going on, and where are the opportunities in the esports industry going forward this year? Well, one of the first areas that is talked about among experts is that player welfare will take on more importance. Remember, the players, just like any industry, are the money. If you've walked into esports, I saw this. Some of the esports players developed some incredibly, wildly unhealthy habits. I mean, it is basically the world of junk food. Before you get to the players' room, you're probably going to walk through 2 feet of snacks and wrappers on the floor that they've done it. And you know what? There's not many resources that were made available to players these last few years in terms of mental or physical wellness. And I can see some of these kids were totally stressing out. You know, these guys will practice 10, 12, 13, 14, 16 hours a day at their new career, and nothing is feeding their mental or physical wellness. So yeah, their hands may be strong, right? And their minds may be strong, but their bodies could get weak. And so what you're going to see in 2019 is they're going to be a take to take care of players' mental and physical wellness. And that's going on. You're going to see, in fact, you're seeing some of this over in Seoul, Korea. There's a team called Gen G that offers players access to resources like a nutritionist, a psychologist, a full gym, and of course, outside of the streaming and stuff, they're giving them good counseling because the players also have to avoid mental burnout. And don't forget, these kids are traveling all around the world, commuting from their homes, and that can be stressful for many of them as well. So you're going to be finding opportunities, two sides. If you're in the esports business, you're going to find new ways to take care of your players. And if you're looking at getting into esports, there is an opportunity for you if you happen to be in the mental health or physical health background. They also say that non-endemic brands will come on as sponsors and investors. Now, what basically does that mean? Well, brands like Alienware and Razer are deeply embedded into the sponsorship of esports simply because they have had a long established credibility with gamers because they've been using their tools. However, esports is in the sweet spot. What does that mean? When you think of in television and marketing brands, it means esports dominates the attention spans of highly coveted 18 to 35 demographic worldwide. That is the marketing holy grail. So that means any product, any brand that offers products and services that aren't actually tied to gaming are now going to be making a jump. They're going to do it maybe a toe at a time to see if it works, but they're going to start taking a serious look at esports because it is in fact delivering the 18 to 35-year-old demographic, and that is the sweet spot. Also, esports is going to gain more traction in traditional athletic competitions. The 2019 Southeast Asian Games, which will take place November 30 to December 11th of this year, yes, these things go over weeks, will be, for the first time in history, esports will be part of a competition alongside 55 other athletic events. Now think about that. It's not some burger joint where esports are getting together, and it's not just some esports arena. This is the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. During these Southeast Asian Games, call it a mini Olympics if you want, because Southeast Asian Games is sanctioned by the International Olympic Committee, they're going to have esports alongside 55 other athletic events. That is a huge jump for the validation of esports. Now, on the other side, well, 2018 wasn't that great financially for esports, was great for investors getting in, was great for promotions, was great for picking up opportunities, but it's not necessarily turning a profit for it. A lot of these esports teams that went out to get talent had to compete for these kids. And, you know, I heard one the other day. It was a news story of a 14-year-old that's playing on Twitch, streaming through YouTube, and he's making about $240,000 a year. A 14-year-old. However, there's some adjustment going on because a few things have happened in esports, the same as the internet cycle, right? There are now celebrity investors. There's more competitions than ever. And there's incredible, almost unbelievable organization valuations, right? And there's a huge plethora of games to play. There's no one dominant game that's going to take over. And that, of course, creates squabbles. Like the Overwatch League, Activision Blizzard, they brought in 8 new investors. And because they wanted to own the expansion teams of the Overwatch League at $30 to $60 million apiece. Wow. Now, for something that came up from nothing in just a few years, bang, out of nowhere, and now they want to buy up and push these teams down into one larger organization and consolidate. But buying these expansion teams up for $30 to $60 million, that's like selling them, a minor league baseball team. I told you it's going to be just like any other sporting event. It's amazing what's going on. Even PUBG, and that's PUBG Corp, right? They're launching 6 pro leagues. 6 pro leagues and 3 additional pro circuits. Epic Games is giving out millions of dollars to get people to play these games and to get involved. And traditional sports clubs are going to continue to invest. It might not be at the rate that we've seen thus far. The last couple of years, there's been a number of trends in the esports industry. And some of them has been that traditional sports clubs and have been putting their toes in involvement in this video gaming, this esports gaming. And they've been taking some minority shares and investing and partnering with local companies and stuff. The Pittsburgh Knights and the Pittsburgh Steelers, the most recent ones. They're seeing, hey, if we play on the field and we have these players, maybe this esports is another way to expand our franchise. They're not kicking up many NFL teams and creating more. So there is kind of a quick cash grab going on. It's not bad for the esports industry, but you're going to see some competition in the crossover between traditional sports and esports when it comes to ownership. And at that, you might actually find some of the valuations inflated, which can create, what's going on, and started kind of at the end of 2018, some big course corrections. Now, the course corrections that are going on is the rush to invest and gobble up teams that were already going and paying a little too much towards it. So the thing to watch for is, don't be surprised in 2019 if you see some prominent companies get involved and some shifting kind of go back and forth because there has been some ridiculously high spending like League of Legends and Overwatch. Players, word's getting out, players are making tons of money, right? And players are making bigger demands. It comes with an industry when you start to grow. When the players become hot and now they have agents, they demand more. It's just cause and effect. So therefore, this interesting thing is now applying to esports, that there are now contract buyouts. And some of these are reaching incredible proportions. So you're going to see from an operational standpoint, they're going to start weighing how easy is this player to deal with? How committed is this player to the team and building the league? Or could they be swapped, snatched, pulled, or yanked away from me fast just because the money became a little higher, which means they're going to start having to execute longer contracts to get a stronger hold and a stronger state on the player and the industry. So take a look. Some are predicting a bubble. I think it was just a bump. I don't think it's a bubble. But continue to keep your eye on esports. And like I said, take that esports MOOC if you're looking at getting into it, because esports is definitely here to stay. Until next time.
Thanks for being with us here on Tech MOOC. You can find each episode using hashtag TechMOOC or search hashtag Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. Until next time.